just how real is the prospect now of these skirmishes turning into a full-blown war?
Hi, Lizzy. I think the prospect of a war between Hezbollah and Israel, while not inevitable, is very high. You speak to some people, they'll say it's 50-50. Others say, we've still, maybe it's the chance is 20% or something. But the fact is, Israel is openly talking about the need to take military action against Hezbollah, a much more forthright military action against Hezbollah than what it's already done since October, if there isn't a diplomatic solution. At the end of the day, Israel insists that Hezbollah needs to push back from the Lebanon-Israel border, essentially roughly 10 kilometers back from the border, because it's fearful that the group, which essentially wants Israel's destruction, could carry out some kind of October the 7th style attack from the north into the north of Israel.
There's a long history, as you say, of rockets being exchanged across that northern border, but things have escalated significantly since the 7th of October. How much support is there in Israel for a second front in this war?
There is a lot of support for some kind of military action, whether it's a full-on war or some kind of limited incursion by the Israel Defense Forces into southern Lebanon. You have roughly almost 100,000 Israelis that had to evacuate from the north of the country. A similar number of Lebanese have had to evacuate from southern Lebanon. In Israel, the fact that you have these essentially internal refugees is a huge political issue, and it's something that is putting a lot of pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu. Politicians across the spectrum, whether they're centrists on the far right or on the left, are all saying it's unacceptable that these northern Israelis cannot return home, and because of that there is a lot of support, as I say, for some kind of military action in Hezbollah if there isn't a diplomatic solution in the coming weeks or in the next 1 or 2 months. Israel's not in denial that it would face, it would be hurt in any conflict with Hezbollah. Israel knows that Hezbollah is far stronger than Hamas ever was. It has far more in the way of weaponry, missiles and rockets than Hamas did, and far more fighters, and they're thought to be far more organized and disciplined than Hamas combatants were before October the 7th. Nonetheless, the feeling in Israel seems to be that we'd win any conflict against Hezbollah, even if we take a hit, and that hit would be worth it to ensure there's not effectively not a buffer zone within Israel.
So the will is there, but is the resource, the military resource?
According to Israel, yes. I mean, the IDF, since since it was founded, has been designed to fight a war on at least 2 fronts, if not more. So since October the 7th, Israeli officials have said, both privately and in public, that they can fight on 2 fronts. I spoke to someone in Israel a few months ago, and he said it would be bloody for Israel. There's no doubt about it. They wouldn't want a 2-front war, but they're prepared and they are trained to do just that. So it would be problematic for Israel, but at least among a lot of Israelis and a lot of people within the political establishment, the losses would be worth the fight, as it were, to push Hezbollah back from the border.
Because we also, on the question of resources, we also had that court decision about the allowing of ultra-Orthodox Jews to be conscripted into the Israeli army as well. And how significant is that in part of the national discussion around the Israeli Defense Forces position?
That is pretty significant. It wasn't a total surprise, and I think most Israelis thought the Supreme Court would come to this decision, essentially that Haredi Jews or ultra-Orthodox Jews can no longer be exempt from military service. This is something that has divided Israel to some extent since its creation in 1948, but it has become much more emotive and serious an issue since October the 7th. The simple argument among a lot of Israelis being that how can we allow part of our society not to fight military service when we called up 300,000 reservists at the beginning of the war. Many of Israel has lost over 600 soldiers since on October the 7th and in Gaza. So it is an issue, and Netanyahu is going to have to deal with it.